The Fat Earth Podcast.
Even if you are a minority of one, the truth is the truth.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Fear itself. Fear itself.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Fat Earth Podcast. My name is Joe Ward, and before we get started tonight, as always, I would like to remind you that at any time you can go to any YouTube to MP3 website that you can find on the internet. You can copy and paste this link, you can download this video, and you can distribute it to whoever you like. In fact, we encourage it. We are always free and we are always independent. I think it's safe to say that episode 71, The Truth from Inside the COVID Ward, caused a lot of outrage. However, the truth can only be complete once the perpetrators of this deceit are exposed. Today, my guest and former COVID patient will tell all, including shocking information from inside the COVID ward that some listeners may find distressing and at complete odds with what you have been told by the government and mainstream media. I urge that if you haven't listened to part 1 yet, please do so before listening to this for full context. We will put a link in the description. So let's start at the beginning, because obviously a lot of the listeners have been asking, how are you and how are you doing and how have you been doing since you came out of hospital?
To be honest with you, I'm still healing. It's like a bereavement. And since I've come home, I've been passing out, I've been stressed out. COVID was nothing to what I'm going through.
The first podcast that we did obviously drew quite a lot of heat, quite a lot of positive reaction and negative reaction. Do you stand by still everything that you said?
I stand by the truth. I'm traumatised. I went through a traumatic experience. I saw it with my own eyes. I nursed that woman practically for a whole week. Her neck was crooked. She was screaming for food. On the day she died, she went, I want tea, I want water. And I was asked to watch her obs and make sure she keeps a mask on her face. I even heard her last words, and they still took 10 minutes to come and see her. Her body combusted, Joe. Oh no, it was disgusting, and I was her friend on that ward.
So what would you say to the people who say that we're making this up or that we're not being honest about this account that we're giving? What would you say to those people?
Don't judge what you didn't see. I'm not media. I'm not from the newspaper. I'm not like that. I was trying to take care of that lady because we were left. I don't care what anyone says.
One of the most damning things that you said in the last interview was you called it like a death camp for your mental health. Do you still stand by those comments as well?
I do. And you know what? I went to another hospital and the nurses there said to me, I owe it to everybody in this country to speak up about this and actually report the hospital. It's like Hitler and the Jews, who can live and who could die. That woman was left to die. And I'm fuming about it and I'm still mourning her. She had no one to comfort her. I can't walk. I haven't got used to my legs anymore. I couldn't even hold her hand.
It's devastating. It's absolutely devastating. And this is what you're doing to people in hospitals up and down this country. We're about an hour removed from the security guard interview, episode 73, going out. There were some things, obviously, that you took exception with that episode. If you could speak to that security guard, you could address him, what would you say?
They only deal with criminals when they ring the police. I've got motor neuron disease. I was no threat.
He was very honest about that, in that the whole training is set up to put them against people like you. So when you do speak out, you feel small, you feel insignificant, and you don't feel like your story is important.
I've been told by another hospital to expose them. I'm exposing my truth here, and I have a right to reply, and I have a right of free speech, thank you very much. I wasn't offered any support on that ward. I watched that woman combust, and I wasn't given a cuddle. No one came up to me and said, are you okay? Thank you for watching her obs, and thank you for being so caring. Nothing. The doctor went, that's COVID, and put his arms in the air. She was nothing. When I first went down to the COVID ward, the toilet was soiled. It was never cleaned. I was constantly ringing the bell for all the other ladies. I left all my own pain and suffering behind. All the other ladies on the ward were suffering. I was ringing up for them. I'm constantly saying, are you okay? And I was constantly reminding, that person hasn't had this. She can't reach her drink. She can't get her food. And people were just left to die.
It's shocking.
And you know what? The thing is, Joe, their families aren't there to pick up the pieces. Their sons and daughters aren't there to go in there and help them have a wash or help them reach their food or nothing. So these things can all get covered up. I'm so angry. Bring the police to my door. I was told 2 years ago I got motor neuron disease and I was going to die within the 2 years. Guess what? I'm still here and fighting and helping other people. I struggle to walk. I can't even use my hands. I've got a voice. I won't shut up. I've now got a sister onto my my neurologist because I'm getting better, and my mental health is really being damaged.
Even just, as I said, to do the first part that you did with us and just to stand up for the people that didn't have a voice on that ward, you are brave.
I'm the voice of that old lady. That sweet, lovely old lady that said good morning to me every morning. 10 minutes they left her, 10 minutes. A dead person opposite me. And then I had to hear them zipping her up while the security guard was in my face. How much more stress they want to put me through? Why do you make it up? Have I not been through enough? Mm. I've got enough to get through in my life without making up bullshit like that. I'm laying there and I'm saying to the doctors, am I going to die? Oh, we don't know. Oh, great. QA hospital in Portsmouth, in the COVID ward, above the morgue, north side of the hospital. The COVID ward above a mortuary. We all knew it was there.
This particular hospital is one hospital in our area that has been banging on and on and on and on every single day, every single week, every single month about how busy they are, about how hectic things are. But it's important that people know that you were not receiving the care in there that they were claiming to the public that they're giving.
No. The elderly ladies were saying to me, look, they just stood around in the corridor. Look, there they are, running backwards and forwards. We can hear them chatting and laughing in the corridor. This woman's dying in front of me. The old woman's screaming help.
You have actually been there in the flesh. From your point of view, if they can write in the mainstream media that this hospital is busy and giving a level of care and you're saying it's not, then effectively they can lie about any hospital in the country by doing the same thing, can't they?
They're shutting people away from their families. It wasn't busy in there at all. The staff were quite relaxed.
You know, you went into this experience, you know, believing the mainstream narrative, believing that we were in the middle of a pandemic, and after everything you've been through with your health problems, you've trusted the system, and you must feel heartbroken.
I was heartbroken. I don't know how I got through that. The next day when the poor lady, deceased, left the ward, I was accused of being the press. I was sat there on my headphones looking at videos, like documentaries, trying to calm myself down. Every nurse came in, you filming me, you filming me. I'm not filming you. I'm watching an African documentary on animals. And another lady was in there. She kept screaming, help, help. And I said to her, can you not calm her down? And she said, well, what would the media say about that? We seem to be drugging patients. I said, I didn't ask you to drug the fucking patient. I asked you to help calm her down. She was sort of screaming. She's scared. I have to say, I had some fairly dark thoughts. I couldn't cope. And if it weren't for my daughters, I probably wouldn't be here. I mean, I've been through enough. I didn't believe it. I didn't have one symptom. And I came home and my daughter tested me and I was negative.
Despite the advice to the general public being 7 days of isolation, they removed you from the COVID ward after 5 days.
They definitely did, yeah. And I went to another hospital, which it was absolutely wonderful there, and they were brilliant. I'm not anti-hospital. They really looked, in fact, it was Bognor Hospital. They really looked after me, and they know this story as well. I've told them. I had to isolate. I had to wash at my bed. I had to toilet at my bed. In the COVID ward, I was allowed in the corridor to use the shower and the toilet. Well, if I had COVID, what are you doing letting me out the ward, wandering around? How, obviously I'm on crutches, but what you let me in the corridor for? I told you we were allowed out of the ward. In Bognor, it was a strict policy to stay in my bed for 14 days. I was not allowed out. It's taken me, a week to have another interview with you because I was so stressed at the thought of talking about that elderly lady. I couldn't do it, but with your support as well, you've been really, really lovely. You've been really kind. And my daughters, I'm getting through this.
Just to finish up, I'm going to ask you again. It's been 2 weeks since we did the interview, but based on everything you've seen, including since you've come out of hospital and your experience since, are they being honest with us about what is going on?
No, they're not. They're shutting us out, Joe. They're shutting us away from our families. If it's a royal family, they'd have them all round them, 1,000,000%. The people that can comfort us. If I was dying, I want my kids there. I want everyone round my bed. They're keeping everyone away. And that woman died on her own. And her last words were, "I'm going home." I shouldn't have had to listen to her last words.
The Fat Earth Podcast.
Even if you are a minority of one, the truth is the truth.
The only thing